Hi, Anna Carson here. I thought I would give you an update on the journey that I've been taking on around TMJ, like teeth C1 and tongue ties. So if you remember, my daughter, we had gone to a holistic dentist, and they had recommended that she gets, or thought that she gets not orthotics, an expander and then braces, because she's got an underdeveloped top jaw, and so her canine teeth haven't got space to come in. However, one of the things that they had recommended to get done was for her tongue tie and lip tie to be released, to be able to provide the, I guess, the functional change as well as the structural change within the mouth. So I had known that she had a tongue tie and a lip tie, and I had known that I also had a tongue tie as well. But I hadn't really kind of felt drawn to do anything. I hadn't noticed, she didn't have any issues with breastfeeding. She had no speech impediment or anything, so it hadn't felt like there was any need to really look at it. But obviously, I was being led on this journey for a reason, so we've been starting to look at this. Now, we've gone to visit a myofunctional therapist who is looking at how she uses her jaw, her tongue, and everything else, and the impact that it's having. Now, what she was doing was she was actually, and as the same as me, is I'm not opening my mouth much because my tongue is tied, so to make sure that it can still hit the roof of my mouth when I'm talking. So there's a kind of a closing down, really, to allow the tongue to do what it's meant to do. But it does impact for my daughter. Certainly it's impacting on, she's starting to do some mouth breathing at night. She doesn't, it's not too bad. She hasn't got enlarged tonsils or anything like that, but it is having an impact. And so we started to look at seeing if we could release any of the tension that she holds, because there's a whole fascia that leads from the tongue tie up the midline through the hemispheres of the brain and right the way down to your feet. So it's a really huge fascia, and there's a huge amount of tension that can hold in it, and it links so many things in the body. So we've always seen a biodynamic osteo who's just incredible, and he can work at amazing levels. He works not only with the physical body, but with all the subtle bodies as well. And so we were asking him to release, not just for my daughter, but for me also, release some of the tension out of the tongue tie and see where he can release it through the fascia. Now, it's been amazing. For me, we've noticed, so the first session that I had, we were releasing tension from in between the hemispheres of the brain, and also, interestingly, from my ovaries. So my ovaries were being held in a really elevated, tense, kind of position. So he was releasing that. My pancreas was also being affected. And then in the last session, I had this really strong intuitive kind of thing to ask him, because I have internally rotated hips, and so like everything, my thighs, my legs, everything is internally rotated. And I really felt that this was linked as well. And so as the osteo was working, he was working through the fascia, and he was also working with TMJ. And it was all linked, because it's all to do with this midline. And so what he was saying is, as the jaw develops, that also can be internally or externally rotated as it's developing, and this is often mirrored with the hips and the pelvis as well. And so we're making this whole link. And so he's releasing all of this tension out of my body, and it's been amazing. Like, I've had huge emotional kind of releases afterwards. I'm feeling that my intuition is starting to open up even more. And I've certainly noticed with my daughter, since she's only had one session with him, where actually the tension was held from her lip tie rather than her tongue tie, but her ability to to really experience energy and to understand the energy that she is feeling has just ramped up. So there's been a number of times where, I mean, she's still getting used to it, but she's been really overwhelmed with the amount of energy that she's feeling in interactions. Or tonight she had a huge one around the earth, and just feeling the devastation of what humanity has done to the earth. And so she's really, I just feel that she's opening up phenomenally as we're releasing this. And this is certainly from what I've read, the research that I've done, and other people's experiences of us as they're releasing their tongue tie. There's this huge physical release, an emotional release, but then this kind of, from the spiritual aspect, there's this a lot more opening up of intuition, of your ability to feel and understand energy and everything else, and their guidance. So it's been really fascinating to understand this, because the way I see it, all of this area, starting from C1 going into TMJ, linking in with the tongue tie, going through the throat. This is all about our ability and how safe we feel to express ourselves. Like this is all linked in here. C1 is very much about fear, about feeling, there's a lot of emotion held within our cervical spine. And so C1, like I said, is very much linked in with fear. It's linked in with not feeling good enough, you're almost like kind of running from life, running from our full potential, not wanting to be who we truly are, and linking all the way through, and like I said, into TMJ. And I'm just really seeing how all of this is limiting you, whether we're tongue tied, whether we've got tension in TMJ. It's all about how safe we feel, how we're able to express ourselves. And as we're starting to release this, this opening up. And like my physical body is showing this as well. This internal rotation is all about like trying to make myself smaller, trying not take up so much space, not be this expansive, true kind of expression of who I am. And so there just seems to be so much linked into this. It's just been a fascinating journey to kind of a rabbit hole to explore, and there's so much more to it. Because the other thing that with the tongue tie, and I was having this conversation with a friend of mine who's also kind of starting to go down this route of looking at her own tongue ties, is it really feels like it's almost this hereditary or genetic. And I don't just mean this from an ancestral point of view, but I mean from a kind of and I guess an evolutionary point of view, or that this tie is there to limit us. I guess if we look at it from an evolutionary point of view of where we are now, we're getting to this place where we're ready to fully express ourselves. We're ready to be who we are, and the world wasn't ready for all of this when we were born, or even decades ago, whatever. That would be me, but even generations ago, it wouldn't be ready. But suddenly, all this information is coming out about ties. People are getting, as adults are getting them released, babies are being released, and it's almost like there's this freedom, this time to be starting to express ourselves more, to be able to be, to have that freedom. I guess, and it feels like a real collective energy as well as an individual one. So I'm fascinated just to where this is taking me. But what happened was I'd taken, we'd gone to visit the myofunctional therapist, and I'd asked her to have a look at my tongue tie quickly, and she was just like, yep, okay, you've got a tight tie. She gave me some exercises to do, and to really try and improve the movement of my jaw, of my tongue, and be aware of it. But what she also said, and kind of threw this in the mix, because I wasn't really looking to have mine released yet. I really wanted to explore how much I could release just through the osteo work. However, there is a specialist that is coming this week from the US, and I've been offered a place to have my tongue tie released by him on Friday. So the universe seemed to have had, also it's free of charge. So it feels like it's kind of landed on my plate. And so I'm taking up that offer, and so I'm fascinated to see how this is going to, what's going to come of this, and how this is going to impact on my body as we release this. So I'll let you know probably a few days after Friday. Let my tongue recover. But yeah, I'm getting this release done. So it'll be really interesting as I recover through that, and I work with the osteo to release it through my body, how that physically changes, and physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, kind of, how things change after that. So I'll let you know. But yeah, there's so much linked in with this, and I guess sorry, I just keep having there's this bit. The other thing is that what I also discovered was that the tongue tie, it's when we develop in utero, the tongue is actually fully tied. And as the tongue starts to grow, the tie is actually meant to kind of retract and you'd kind of disappear, almost like we have a tail, and that disappears as we grow. Now, what I'm also exploring is, because if you saw the video that I did this morning, is when I'm looking at all this stuff in utero and understanding that, is there something, and this is just a hypothesis, I don't know the answer to this, but is there something that happens in utero that that doesn't allow, that kind of, I guess, sparks off this, that stops this retraction of this tie, when we think, okay, during this time in utero, there's something that says, all right, it's not going to be safe for us to be fully expressed in this world. And so literally we then develop a tongue tie. I don't know, this is purely a hypothesis. I have no idea whether this is true, but I'm interested that it is something that is meant to dissipate. And for many people, this process doesn't finish. And I'm just wondering, I know there's links with MTHFR, so there is a gene side of this, but if there's I'm also wondering whether there is excuse me, a trauma thing that links into this, that causes this tie to kind of to be still there. I'll finish there because I seem to have a bit of a cough with this. But yeah, I'll give you an update after I've had my tie released.